Namaste. Today I'm going to go back over the different yoga paths. There's 4 traditional. Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of devotion, the yoga of mantras and worshiping the Guru and chanting, and it's just about worship, celebrating your Guru, your teachings, your lineage, and to be devout. So certain practitioners, this is perfect. Then the Raja Yoga, or Royal Yoga, sometimes known as Kriya Yoga, the yoga that Sadhguru teaches about energy, mastering energy, and meditation practice too. And then Karma Yoga, the yoga of selfless service, as well as the last one, Jhana Yoga. And today that's what we're going to be talking about, because this is, I think, a path chooses you. And one of the things I'm going to say up front for Jhana Yoga, they're saying that this is the intellect, the knowledge. And it says all along, it reminds you that you should practice Bhakti Yoga to celebrate, to enhance a sense of compassion, because sometimes locked into the intellect, compassion gets overlooked. And it becomes a hindrance that if you practice just knowledge from information to knowledge to wisdom, if you practice this, sometimes you forget. I know in my case it was really true that I had to go back and practice Anahata, the green Buddha, the compassion, the Anahata, the heart chakra. Okay. So now Jhana Yoga is known as one of the oldest concepts of yoga. It is believed to originate during the Vedic age, before the Upanishads, way back 5,000 years in Indian history. The philosophy behind it, self-realization, is considered as being one with the ultimate energy that is available in the universe. Being one with the ultimate energy is available in the universe. It's, as I said, it's one of the oldest concepts. Even before the Vedic age, it says here. And I want to caution here that it's known to be one of the most difficult ones. The word jnana means wisdom or knowledge. When performing it, a great strength of will and intellect is required in order to go beyond an individual's natures, thoughts, and ego. The process includes thinking, reflection, meditation, self-questioning, and awareness to be successful in experience self-realization that allows the individual to open their eyes from all the ideas and perception of reality. Jnana Yoga is used to train the mind for deeper and higher level of self-realization. Gaining knowledge can be a bit complicated, especially when the ultimate goal is for self-realization. And generally, it consists of 3 practices. I'm not going to bother, I have all the Sanskrit here, but I'm not going to bother the Sanskrit. But it's hearing, thinking, meditation. Hearing, thinking, meditation. Now this is something that I stumbled on, and it's been really hard because listen to all the I's, and this one really takes alertness. Jnana Yoga encourages its adepts to think and speak of themselves in the third person as a way to distance themselves from the ego and detach their eternal self, Atman, from the body-related one, or Maya, illusion. So this practicing the third person, it's really tough. Okay. It's considered a path for self-realization. That's what we're talking about. The process that surrounds it discusses the hardships experienced while en route, since it focuses on dealing with the formless reality that can prove to be difficult, can only be properly accomplished by individuals with a high intellect. Yes. Jhana in Jnana Yoga context is better understood as realization or gnosis. Gnosis is Greek for knowledge, referring to a path of study wherein one knows the unity between self and the ultimate reality called Brahman in Hinduism. In Jhana Yoga, the mind is used to inquire into its own nature and to transcend the mind's identification with its thoughts and ego. The fundamental goal of yoga is to become liberated from the illusory world of Maya. Self-limiting thoughts and perception is this Maya, self-limiting thoughts and perception, and to achieve the union of the inner self, the Atman, and the oneness of life, Brahman. Most important here is to achieve the union of the Atman, the individual inner self that you find from your search within. In Bhagavad Gita, Jnana Yoga is also referred to as Buddha Yoga, and its goal is self-realization. The text considers Jnana Marga as the most difficult, slow, confusing for those who prefer it, because it deals with formless reality. It is the path that intellectually oriented people tend to prefer. And here's prescribed steps towards achieving liberation. And again, I'm going to leave out the Sanskrit. Discernment, discrimination, a deliberate and continual intellectual effort to distinguish between the real and the unreal, the permanent and the temporary, the self and the not self. This is where my study naturally led me. Dispassion and detachment is cultivating one. Non-attachment are different towards the temporal objects of worldly possessions and the ego mind. It is only when the mind is absolutely free of the detachment of all sorts that true knowledge begins to dawn. There are 6 mental practices to stabilize the mind and emotion and to further develop the ability to see beyond the illusion of Maya. 1. Tranquility and calmness. The ability to keep the mind peaceful through moderating its reaction to a certain external stimuli. The second one of these 6 is restraint control, and the strengthening of the mind to be able to resist the control of the senses, and the training of senses to be used only as instruments of the mind. Withdrawal, renunciation, is the abandon of all activities that are not one's dharma, duty, a simple lifestyle that's contain no worldly distractions from the spiritual path. And this is an important one. Endurance and forbearance is the tolerance of external, non-conducive situations that are commonly considered to produce suffering, especially in extreme opposite state, success and failure, hot and cold, pleasure and pain. That's when you reconcile the dualism becomes non-dualism. Faith and trust is a sense of certainty in one's belief of one's guru and teachers and the scriptures of the yogic path. Complete one-pointedness of the mind. Focus, concentration is complete one-pointedness. That's the focus. And longing and yearning is a tense desire for achieving the liberation. This is what kept me going. From suffering, in order to achieve liberation, must be completely committed to the path with such longing that all other desires fade away. It can be difficult to grasp or comprehend the intellectual approach of Jhana Yoga, since one can easily overemphasize intellectual attainment. It is important to cultivate humility and compassion on this path. It is easy to become entangled in the constructs and thoughts of mind and lose sight of the goal of jhana, to realize the divine oneness inherent in all of us. It's recommended that you practice one of the other yogas. I'd mentioned Bhakti Yoga. And then eventually you reach, through meditation, the realization and consequent conviction of the truth, non-duality, and a state when there is fusion of thought and action, knowing and being. These practices, with the help of a guru, are believed to lead to correct knowledge, which destroys psychological and perceptual errors related to Atman and Brahman. So obviously, I read that. And I remember, look at the cameras here. I read that, but I did a lot of research. And there's a lot of information to digest. And this will only be useful, I think, for people who are considering. I may in the future devote more time to the other three paths, because either the Bhakti Yoga devotion, Karma Yoga, selfless action, Kriya Yoga or Raja Yoga, the mastery of energy. Maybe one of those three applies to, it's more appropriate for you. But what I have to remember, what I have to remind here is that they say the practice of all three of the other ones is probably necessary on the path. In one way or another, I practiced all three of these before I ended up with, life takes you where it wants you to go. That's what happened to me. Just go with the flow. Something will appeal to you. Something will resonate with you. Something will make sense. I have friends, my Taiwan mom and dad, that are just so into bhakti, devotion. They're so devoted. And that's the practice of seva, selfless service in the group.